Thank you very much for joining me on the Job Scam Report. You can find me and all the content related to job scams at markanthonydyson.substack.com. I hope you join me there. You read articles. There's dozens of those, as well as podcasts and videos to help you combat job scams wherever you're at, whether you're employed, you're unemployed. I'm just trying to chase job scams like storm chasers chase storms. I'm not trying to get in the eye of scams, but I am trying to help you and help all of us avoid them, as we're all getting all these smishing, which is SMS or which is text, or phishing might be email. You're getting scam calls. Some people are getting several per hour or per day, and it's a lot to process. I want to give you today a checklist of what you can look for. And here, if you've been following me for a while, or if this is the first time, you're going to hear me say a lot. One red flag is enough, but we're going to identify several today. In fact, we're going to try to identify 8 of them. And down the line, I'll give you 8 more, but I'm sure there'll be more because there are more tools to be used online. Therefore, there are going to be more scams. There are going to be more layoffs. There'll be more people to target for scams. But as you may know, or if you didn't know, scammers use social engineering to drive their scams. In other words, they hack humans is the best way to describe it. Instead of hacking a computer, it's easier to hack a human, and it's easier to hack those who are more vulnerable. So if you've been long-term unemployed, or if you're just facing the shock of a layoff, you are most vulnerable to scammers. So more than likely, you're going to get the appeals for work that is very easy, doesn't take a lot of skill, very well paid to do mundane work. It promises of short hours, like making $500 in 2-3 hours, or even having flexible remote positions available. They're looking to get you all the soft spots that you have in your heart, that you may even have wished for. If you haven't done it aloud, you thought about how great it would be to work at home to make a lot of money, and that depending on you to click that link, to respond to the email, to pick up that call, or to go and check them out on WhatsApp or Zoom, which I never recommend. But hopefully this checklist will be helpful and help you to better combat scams. And I hope through my experiences, although I've never been scammed, I've been tempted. And it's not easy. And it could tempt you. And when I say temptation, that I've been offered, not particularly that I've wanted to, but when I get an offer that looks that generous to work anywhere, anytime I want and make a lot of money, it's tempting for most of us, no matter what economic scale that we're on. It's just that we're just smart enough to know that's also a red flag. And for some people, that's not. And that's what draws the difference. So hopefully this checklist will be helpful. Again, I promote that you avoid them if there's one red flag, and that you vet and research everything, even before you click on the link they want you to click on. Check out everything. And there's material on the Substack, the Job Scam Report Substack, that I produce and write and produce podcasts for. So hopefully you'll be able to access that. It's easy to subscribe and enjoy the content and get as much as you can of it. So on the checklist, one of the things that are, again, these are red flags for you to disengage and to avoid, is when someone claims that you are the perfect person for the experience they want for their company. You fit, therefore we want you. We practically want to give a job, but we want to have this exchange of information. Now, some of you have been victims of scams, and one of the first things they do is that they're asking for personal information, but already you've verified if you've engaged with them at all and you were enamored by their flattery, you've confirmed that they had the right information about you that they have so far, which is the worst possible scenario to be in. But that is a red flag, and you want to disengage and not to figure out what else they want unless you're lying, you're playing games. I can't stop you from that. But very often you just confirm that you are who they thought you were at the outset. So that's claims of being perfect fit with little experience. The second red flag, number 2, false job posting claims. And the scammers may claim, say, you applied to our job ad on XYZ site. They probably can't even tell you what site. Or maybe they can because scammers somehow get that access. And they believe you, say, yeah, I've filled out 100 applications on that site, or I've applied to 100 jobs on that site. And that's the problem with mass applying, is that most people can't keep up with all the jobs that they applied, except for the number of jobs that they applied to. But that is a red flag because you don't remember applying to a job of that nature. In fact, you may even say, why would I apply to this job on stapling 1,000 envelopes in a couple of days? That's not the real thing, but that's how ridiculous it actually sounds many times. So you want to consider that a red flag. Again, it's good for you to keep tabs of the job applications. In fact, on many of the sites, you can keep some kind of record of what you applied to. But it's dangerous when you don't remember or that doesn't sound like you. And even if you did, if you change your mind, you could just say, that's all right, not interested, thank you, and hang up the phone or disengage from them, however they may contact you. 3, the contact information for the recruiter or hiring managers unprofessional in the sense that they're using a Hotmail, a Gmail, a Yahoo, or whatever, something that's not a company name. And many times they'll even have a company name behind it, but it's misspelled because let's say it's Microsoft. Microsoft is getting in contact with you for a software engineering job. But Microsoft is spelled with that extra T at the end. So it's Microsoft.com. And that is part of the URL. It's a scam. Microsoft doesn't send anybody misspelled URLs. That's just not going to happen. And it's good for you to assume that. And you automatically think that is a fake. So watch out for that. Number 4 is poor grammar. Yes, poor grammar can be something that somebody makes an obvious mistake on. Even the most intelligent of us who are writers or who write frequently can make a spelling mistake. But when it's on a website or it's in an email where business is being transacted and that there are spellings that somehow don't make sense, that's good enough for you to disengage and consider it a red flag. Especially if it's poor grammar in a text or however it comes, it's a red flag and you should question it. And it's okay to look for a second sign in some of these cases because, like I said, we're human. We all make mistakes. But when it comes to that kind of communication about a job and you're offering someone a job or you want them to interview, you want to impress them, and bad grammar could be a turnoff. It's scammy behavior, what I call, where they're being careless, they're being reckless, and why would you want to work for a company that puts out that kind of communication? But it does, in some of these instances, if you want to look for the extra step to take, go check them out. Ask them to send you a LinkedIn invite. That's a good way to really get these scams, because they can't in most cases, because they're using, they're impersonating someone, or they're using a fake profile. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to also get caught in communicating specifically with you for any length of time. They may communicate with you to go to Zoom or WhatsApp, which you shouldn't go to, but that's how they behave. 5, a red flag is that they don't want to communicate with you face to face in any kind of medium, whether it's in person or Zoom or WhatsApp or any of the messaging apps. You should always do a face to face with someone in some kind of way. And you should always know what someone looks like, unless they're being really forthright in identifying themselves that they are who they say they are and with the company that they say that they are with. And by that, too, you should always check out the company and check out maybe even the company's name and reviews in Google, so that you can get an idea this is a company that you really want to work with. Or there might be some imposters out there, bad actors, who are actually using that real company as a way to bait people and lure you to apply for a job. But a lot of times they don't want to be identified face to face. So it's possible that they may even get you to use, and we'll probably see more of deep fakes, which is where they use a real video, but they use a different set of lips to talk with, or they may use different images to make like it's a real person, but it's not. And we're going to see more of that. But even at that, they're going to try not to show their face or show who they are in any kind of way. Number 6, extensive questionnaire. And there are times when they want to seem legit, so they will overextend their ability by asking a lot of lengthy questions. Sometimes personal information is within those first few questions. They don't care about the other questions. They want to make you think that it's a real interview, but somewhere along the line, they're going to ask you for personally identifying information. And if they do that without some convincing that's actually part of the process, unless you met them in person, you do an extensive questionnaire, especially as part of your interview. And like I said, if they're real, they'll be very forthright in making sure that you are very clear that they are who they say they are. But you want to research that as well. You can go and look on LinkedIn to see if there's anyone in your network currently working for that company or used to, and ask them, say, hey, they sent me a 40 interview questionnaire, or 40 questions for an interview, or a behavioral assessment. Does that make sense? It doesn't to me. That's a red flag, and that's something you should disengage. And I got a couple more. But again, so far we talked about claims of being a perfect fit with little experience, false job posting claims, professional contact information, poor grammar, no face-to-face communication, extensive questionnaire that doesn't make any sense at all. And number 7 is a rushed background check. Now, a lot of these days, and I think last year, there was more than we saw, or that I saw, that I heard of, and some of you can let me know, that they will rush to do a background check, which a lot of times doesn't involve reference checks. But for them, they are pretending that they're doing a background check. You always end up getting the job. As far as I know, a fake job, there's no use of turning down someone when you can get their personal information, which are assets to you. It's our personal assets. So all that information, and a lot of times they'll want to do that up front, even. So you want to avoid doing it up front at all costs, especially they're asking for bank account information so that they can pay you via HCH transfer or whatever it is, or even cryptocurrency as they do cryptocurrency. Lord knows, please disengage. But again, any of these you want to do the first time around, but again, they fake that. Number 8 and the last one is these offers are often too good to be true, and that's been pretty easy. And there's a lot more signs that we can go through, and I'll go through in the future. But if you want to get a list of that, I do have a list. Put that in the description. And there seems to be more and more coming every day. So it's not just a one-time thing. But once you get the idea that there are some behaviors that just doesn't make any sense or that are not typical of recruiters that you know or that recruiters talk about in different articles or podcasts, or maybe you've had conversations, it's good to have them in your network, of course, so you can ask them those type of questions. But you should be prepared to, again, I don't want to deal with it anymore, and don't apologize for it. I would even say you don't even have to be polite in many instances. When you find that they're fake, you don't have to communicate with them anymore. You block, and then you delete them from your. You want to delete them from your list if you've engaged with them some kind of way, and you want to report them. You can report them if they're, depending upon the social network or the site. If it's a website, then you can report them at ic3.gov. It's the best place. You can also use ftc.gov, which also works with the FBI. The FBI has a site. The Better Business Bureau was working with the FBI. So any of those are fine. The ic3.gov seems to be the most direct site because they deal with internet crimes specifically. So you want to, I think it's better to report to. And also, if it was LinkedIn or Facebook, report it to that platform. And it's depending upon how much you've engaged them, then you may either have to contact your bank or your financial institution, or you would need to, and do, it's not one or, you may have to do both. Scan your computer for malware or spyware if you've been to their sites, or if you download a PDF, which is another way for them to install malware and spyware on your computer, or you may need to contact someone to scan your computer if you don't have a spyware or malware software prevention software on your computer. Thank you. Rough talking about them. I could talk about forever, but I want you to be able to have this information so you can do better. And if you've been scammed, if you were a victim, of course, please let me know. Let's have a discussion about it. Let me know what your experiences are and what you did and how things turned out for you. And if you've avoided them and you've done well, and maybe you want to add to the list that I gave, with the 8 that I've given, then feel free to put that in the comments as well. As always, I thank you, and I hope that you're going to be able to job search safely and strategically. And we could talk about strategies here, how to do that both at the same time. But basically, as you are going about in your job search or you're applying for jobs, please research everything that you see in the job ad. And of course, you will also research anyone that is offering you an opportunity to make sure that they are who they say they are. And you want to avoid with those who are trying to game the system and use schemes to get your personal data and your money. So take care. Again, this is the Job Scam Report. I'm Mark Anthony Dyson. You can subscribe to markanthonydyson.substack.com, and hopefully you will find a lot of content there to help you avoid and combat scams.